An eye for an eye. You already know what that means. Cruelty. Primitive, savage, tit-for-tat revenge. The brutal old justice we've thankfully grown out of. Except that's completely wrong. In fact, it's the exact opposite of the truth. Because an eye for an eye was not an invitation to violence. It was one of the first great limits on it. To see why, you have to know what it replaced. And what it replaced was so much worse. Before there was law, if someone put out your brother's eye, you didn't take one eye in return. You took your revenge, as much as you could, and then their family came for you, and then yours came for them, and the blood rolled on, family against family, for years, for generations. One insult could burn down a whole village. This is the story of how humanity built a cage for its own thirst for revenge. This is the birth of law.
Last time, we handed one man terrifying power, the right to command, to tax, to kill, and we ended on a question: what could possibly restrain him? Will Durant placed law and morals among the deepest roots of civilization, the invisible rules that let strangers trust one another. But law had to solve a problem older than any king, the problem of revenge. Because our instinct, when we're wronged, is not justice. It's retaliation, and retaliation has no natural brakes. Left alone, it escalates until someone is exterminated. So the very first thing law had to do was not to punish people, it was to stop them punishing each other.
Picture the world before the courthouse. There's no police, no judge, no state to call. If you are harmed, the only justice available is the justice you take with your own hands, you and your family. It sounds almost fair until you follow it forward. You avenge your brother, but to the other family, your revenge is now a fresh crime, and they must avenge that. Every act of justice becomes the next family's injury. The feud is a machine with an accelerator and no brake. And before you decide you are above all this, that you would never join a blood feud, think of the last time someone truly hurt someone you love, and how much of you wanted them to pay. That instinct never left us. Law was invented to manage the most dangerous thing inside a human being: the hunger to get even.
Now watch what the first lawgivers do. Around 4,000 years ago, in the city of Ur, a king named Ur-Nammu carves out what is, as far as we know, the oldest law code on Earth. And here's the surprise. It doesn't say an eye for an eye at all. It says, if a man knocks out another's eye, he pays half a pound of silver. Put a price on the wound. Turn a debt of blood into a debt of silver, one that can actually be paid and settled and ended. 3 centuries later, in Babylon, comes the most famous law code of all time, Hammurabi's, and this is the one that says it. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And yes, it's harsher, it's graded by class. It is nobody's idea of modern justice. But look closely at what that phrase is actually doing. The whole revolution is hiding in one tiny word. An eye, one eye, not two. Not the man's life, not his brother's, not his village. It sets a ceiling. It says, this much and no more. The punishment may never exceed the crime. For the first time, revenge has an edge it cannot cross.
And that reveals what law really is underneath. It's not fundamentally about cruelty or kindness, it's about who gets to hold the sword. In the feud, justice belongs to the victim, hot, personal, unlimited. Law does something radical, it takes the sword out of your hand. It says you no longer get to avenge yourself, the community will do it for you, according to a fixed public rule that everyone can see carved in stone. Remember Weber, from last episode, the state as the monopoly on legitimate force? This is that monopoly reaching into your heart and confiscating your right to revenge. In practice, the eye was usually paid in silver anyway. What mattered was that the amount was fixed, public, and final.
But all of this rests on a much deeper mystery, one we still argue about today. When Hammurabi carved, "This is just," Where did that sense of justice come from? Was he inventing it? Or writing down something humans already felt? On one side, scientists like Franz de Waal say our morality is far older than any law. That empathy, fairness, a hatred of being cheated, evolved in our ape ancestors long before cities. Even monkeys will refuse a reward if they see another monkey getting a better one for the same task. On this view, law didn't create our sense of fairness. It just wrote it down. On the other side, the social contract thinkers argue morality isn't in our nature at all. It's a deal, an agreement we construct to live together, enforced by society. Are we good by instinct or good by contract? 4,000 years later, the jury is still out.
But whichever it is, the invention itself changed us permanently. Because the deepest thing the lawstele did wasn't to set a penalty. It was to plant an idea that would eventually grow into everything we mean by justice. The idea that there is a rule above the strong. Think about it. That stone stood in a public square where anyone could read it, the poor farmer as well as the noble, and it implied something staggering, that even the powerful were bound by it, that a wrong was a wrong, no matter who you were. Now, the early codes did not live up to that. They were unequal, they favored the rich, they served the king. But the idea was loose in the world now, and it would never fully die. That justice is not simply the will of whoever is strongest, but a fixed thing, standing over all of us, that even a king must answer to. Every court, every constitution, every "no one is above the law" is a descendant of that first stone in the square. And notice one last thing about that stone, because it points to where we're going next. When Hammurabi wanted his law to be obeyed, he did not simply say, "I command it." He carved himself at the top of the stele, receiving the law from a god. Even the most powerful man in the world knew that his word alone was not enough. To make the law truly binding, it had to come from something higher than any human being.
Next time on Civilization OS. Behind the king, behind the law, behind the whole fragile order of the first cities, stood a power older and stranger than all of them: the gods. Every early civilization was drenched in religion. The temple came before the palace, and the priest before the king. So where did the gods come from? Why does every human society, everywhere, invent them? The birth of religion, out of fear, wonder, death, and the need to hold a society together.